David, thanks very much for joining us again. Great to see you again. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good, good. England got themselves up and running with a win last night. What did you make of the overall performance?
I thought the overall performance could have been better, but I generally felt that England done the job. I don't think that you need to be at your best in the first game. I think we've talked quite a bit about how you grow into the competition. I think England will get a chance to see how people perform, find the right formations, find the right players for the right moment. And I think with the selection issues with Gareth Southgate, he's got so many good players. I think England done a good job. They done what they had to do. They won the game.
Fair enough. Lots of England fans were a little bit puzzled by Gareth Southgate's substitutions, the way he managed that aspect of the game. What did you make of that? Well,
it's always easy when you're not the manager. The manager has to make the decisions at the moment. I didn't see him get it wrong, that's for sure, because his team won 1-0. You can always look and say maybe players didn't play as well as you would expect them to play, but that can happen in football. There's no guarantee that every time a player plays he's going to play well. But I think a lot of England players, have got so much credit in the bank, so many good players who performed so well during the season that in the end the result was outweighed the thought of how people performed.
Phil Foden was one of those players that was potentially didn't give a maximum performance. What would you do with Phil Foden in that scenario, and how much responsibility does he need to take of himself to make Gareth Southgate's mind up as to what to do with him?
I think you are talking about, was it the Writers' Player of the Year in England? Yes, I think you might have been talking about one of the biggest nominees for the Footballer of the Year in England. I think it's ridiculous that you're even talking about it, to be honest. I think Phil Foden is a star, a huge player. Maybe didn't quite reach his best performance maybe last night, but overall, what a great player. And that's what I'm saying. Players are allowed to play badly. It happens sometimes. They can't always play well. So if all the supporters are saying they didn't play well, you'd be chopping and changing your team every week. Sometimes you're trying to get a bit of consistency. But I do understand that when England have Gordon and then you have Eze and you have Cole Palmer and Jared Bowen, there's so much competition for places. But let me tell you, Phil Foden's a terrific player and has been one of the most outstanding players in the Premier League this season.
Certainly feels like there's a lot more to come from him, of course, and we've seen that throughout the whole season in the Premier League.
Yeah, it won't need you or any supporters to tell Phil Foden. He'll know exactly because of how good he is.
Sure. Another topic that England fans were talking about off the back of the game was the Trent Alexander-Arnold in midfield experiment. What did you make of his performance there, and is that something that Southgate should persist with for us, or should we stick to a more orthodox midfielder?
Well, I think that your word there, orthodox midfield player, is something. I mean, England don't have Calvin Phillips at the moment. They don't have Jordan Henderson, who you might have been used the words of orthodox midfield player. So Gareth had a little bit of a debate. Is it Conor Gallagher, who my feeling is very good at pressing. He's brilliant getting after people. He really is. He's a good player. Scores goals as well, but might not be of the same mould of the other players we mentioned. I think Trent's a very good passer of the ball, exceptional passer of the ball. Most of my career as a manager, I've seen Trent play as a fullback, but I do know that he's more than capable of playing in midfield, and has gone into midfield from a fullback position in the last couple of seasons for Liverpool as well. I think he done fine as well. I don't think there was a real issue. There might be a bigger issue depending on what the opponents are. But I thought the decision for England to play him in there last night was the right one. It was a chance to have a look at it. And look, again, I keep reverting back to the result. The result in football's everything. If England keep going through the tournament, win it this way, and win the tournament, nobody will be complaining. They'll be saying it's a great thing that we've won the competition. But obviously, you're always looking for good performances.
Well, a win's a win, isn't it? And in this tournament, it kind of feels like a win is almost enough to get you out of the group stage. It's just the way it's set up, with the third place having a chance to go through. Yep. For Scotland, 2 chances left to get that win, that crucial win. They were up against it against Germany, and it kind of showed. What do you think they need to change going into the Switzerland and Hungary games to try and get that result?
Yeah, well, look, let's look at the German game just before you go on and just say Germany were much stronger, much better team than Scotland that we could put out. So when you're like that, you have to find a way of how can we get a result? How can we make it tight? How can we be difficult to play against? We probably didn't do that as well as we'd like, and Steve Clarke will be the first one to admit to that. But we now move on. It's gone now. We have to try and go into the Switzerland game feeling that we've got a chance. Switzerland are a really good side as well, so I don't think MD should be thinking different. They have so many players playing for a lot of the big clubs around Europe, Switzerland. So Scotland will need to be at their best to get a result. But this recent result against Germany might just give Scotland hopefully that little bit of let's roll our sleeves up a little bit higher and let's get after them a little bit more and play a bit better. But look, Scotland were certainly up against it against Germany in the opening game.
For sure, for sure. Is there anything specifically tactically or personnel-wise that you feel like Scotland should do in order to try and get those results?
Well, look, Steve Clarke will know more about all the Scottish players and what he could do than me. Every manager tries to win the games. They don't try to put out a bad team. You always try and put out your best players and play them in the best positions, and you try to get the best out of them. So Steve will know best. I think that we might find a few changes for Scotland. I think it'll come around. Like Billy Gilmour probably would be a starter in many games. So I think there's a chance that Billy Gilmour could probably play. We've had difficulty scoring goals. We may look to find another way of getting forward players in the team or not. But Steve, again, will know better than me. He's working with them and he'll know exactly what he has to do.
Great. Away from the Euros, I don't know if you saw this clip. It was a couple of weeks ago. It was Wayne Rooney telling the story of when he dumped an ice cold bucket of water over your head.
Correct.
You can verify that happened.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah. Good. Are you able to tell the story from your point of view and how that sort of came about?
I'll need to check and see is it still possible to fine him, do you think, for doing that? Can I go back those years and think about it?
Yeah, fines will be a lot bigger now,
yeah.
I think, probably.
I'm looking forward to him coming out. I'll maybe fine him in a couple of beers when I catch up with him out here in Germany. Yeah.
Wayne's obviously somebody that you know well, having worked with him at your time at Everton. He's taken a new job. What do you make of that appointment?
Look, I'm really pleased for Wayne. I'm really pleased to see young British managers get opportunities. We're seeing very young managers join other clubs, and we're seeing less and less. Obviously, we've got new manager at Brighton, we've got new manager at Chelsea. So I'm really pleased that Wayne's got an opportunity to get back into managing quickly. He'll probably, like all managers do in the journey, you have to do well in your first job. You have to really, I simply say, win enough games where you can be recognised for it. So it'll be interesting. Plymouth's a good club. Years and years ago, Plymouth were a really good football club and still are, and are climbing back up. He knows Neil Dewsnett very well from his time at Everton, who's there. So it'll be good. I'm pleased for Wayne. It gives him another opportunity. Can put the Birmingham stuff behind him and try and get Plymouth moving in the right direction.
How difficult is it when you are trying to find your feet on the management ladder to stick with the club, get the backing of the club, and solidify your place as the manager? Yeah. How tough is that?
Well, in modern football now, it's really tough, and I hear a lot getting talked about it. But I always say that winning games. How do you win the games? How do you do that? Keep moving your team up. When I started as a young manager at Preston North End, I had to find a way of getting results. But sometimes as a manager, you need to get those results to be recognised, to get your foot in the ladder. Because if you don't, I think the fall off for certainly for British managers, if they don't do well in their first jobs, can find that there isn't other job opportunities. We've got leagues now in England which have got some of the best coaches and managers from all around the world coming into, which is actually limiting the opportunities for a lot of the British/English coaches. And something we want to do. We want to make sure that we're getting lots of our own people in those jobs. Great.
Well, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thanks very much for asking me.
I'm sure we'll see you around for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.